Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of WCM Fireside Chats. We have a bunch of owners that are going to be joining us. I think we still have some trickling in at the moment. I see Jim Button is still connecting to audio, so he'll join us here whenever he gets the chance. But so far we have three owners logged on. Brian Searle from Insider Perks is here, and Kara B from the Canadian RV and Camping Council is here. And I'll just let some of the other owners introduce themselves. Scott, if you want to start, just tell everyone your name and which park you're with.
Good morning. I'm Scott Corey from Ventura Ranch KOA out in Southern California. We have about 148 sites, and we were closed for 3 months during the COVID first part, and now we're at 50% occupancy. But somehow we finalized August to be one of the best Augusts we've ever had in 10 years.
Yeah. And then Emily, you're with the Jellystone Park in Cape City. So yeah, just give us a full name of the park, I guess.
Yes. Hey, I'm Emily Moss. I'm the president of Yogi Bear's Jellystone Park in Cave City, Kentucky. We're located near Mammoth Cave National Park.
And then Desiree, which park are you with?
Hi, I'm manager, not owner of Yogi at Shangri-La in Milton, PA. Big fan of Cave City, and first year managing this park in 2020. So you're gonna all tell me it gets better, right?
Yes.
Yes. Hopefully.
How can it possibly get worse than 2020?
Yeah, don't say that.
Oh yeah, I just jinxed everybody. Sorry.
Yeah, please don't say that.
Knock on wood. I don't have any wood nearby to knock on, Brian. What am I supposed to do?
Not buy cheap metal furniture, Ben. I mean, come on.
And then Jim Button has joined us too. And Jim, can you tell us which park you are with?
Hey, Ben, it's actually Hannah. Jim had to head out to New York today. So Hannah with Evergreen Campsites and Resort. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. And you guys are in Wisconsin, correct? Which area of Wisconsin?
We're in central Wisconsin. We have just shy of 500 campsites. Yeah, in Wild Rose.
Yeah, and I think, just real quick, Hannah, is it possible to turn the video on, or are you just being able to just talk with us?
I don't have video at the moment.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah, I think with the way Zoom is, I sent you a link because you had mentioned Jim was going to come on, and the name is just going to say Jim Button, but we'll just remember you're Hannah, not Jim. So.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Ben.
And you're supposed to coach all these people, or they can't be shy. Shyness is not allowed. If shyness is allowed, I'm going to turn off my camera because I push through this every Monday just for you, Ben. And
I know.
So
I'll start adding that to my extensive background check I run on these people every week. So
Just limit participation at this point.
Yeah,
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, it'll just be us three from now on. So.
Yeah.
Well, we're thankful everyone is able to come on, and I think we might have more people join us here later on because I know I think I at least had a dozen people. I think somebody just messaged me and said that they never received the Zoom link, but I'll have to resend that to them. But so I think we wanted to bring a bunch of owners on from everywhere just to talk about how everybody has been impacted by COVID and how their seasons are going. So I guess I don't know exactly how we want to start this, but I guess I'll start with just Scott. I think we talked a little bit before we came on about how Ventura County was pretty restrictive as far as the COVID stuff went. Just give us a picture about how your beginning of the season went and then how you're doing right now.
So we've been ramping up over the last couple months to get ready for, I'll say, July, August, which as for everybody, it's the heart of our season. We missed part of July, especially 4th of July, because we didn't get approval to open up to 50% until it was June 28th. So we had already canceled most of the guests getting ready for the next week of not being able to be open. The good news is what we did two things to help support us during those 2 months. We added a COVID fee to every reservation. We added a $10 fee for each guest per night. And we actually increased rates on our accommodations. So those two things have helped sustain us through July and August as we were rebuilding business, and it worked. We certainly had some pushback on the extra $10 fee, but most of the guests were happy that they had a place they could come and get back to the great outdoors.
Yeah. And I know, Emily, you guys actually shut down for a little while due to the crisis, right?
We did. Right after, all the information was sent out, we made the decision to voluntarily close. And I believe it was for about 7 weeks. We opened up the weekend before Memorial Day. And we decided to switch reservation software back at the end of last year. And it finally came to fruition right about the same time. So that 7 weeks before Memorial Day is a prime time for us to hire and train. So we came back for Memorial Day with a new reservation software, new staff, and it was a nightmare. I can't even begin to explain to you. And we did not have access to people's credit card information anymore. Therefore, we had to write them paper checks. And I've wrote over 1,000 paper check refunds. And can you imagine the time it takes to do that? Anyways, and we weren't allowed to open our pools until June 28th. So all of June, we gave everybody a 20% discount because none of our water features were open. It was just a trying time. Literally, COVID has trickled its way down to like the littlest things. I mean, we couldn't even get cleaning supplies. Everything's back ordered. We still haven't even got orders that we placed for cabin utensils. I've got people complaining because they don't have a spatula in their cabin. And the new staff was really what killed us this year, is not having proper training, because we went right to peak season. Spring is when we make everything happen, and if it doesn't happen in spring, it's not going to happen in peak season. So it's just been one heck of a year, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone's been having those crazy years that they hope never happen again. Hannah, I guess, what's your year been like at Evergreen?
It's been nonstop go since the list at the end of May, I think it was. Occupancy during the week has been crazy. We had to actually cut back on day passes because we couldn't accommodate day passes on top of our daily campers. I have Brandy here too. She facilitates the beach and the pool, so she can kind of touch on that aspect of our year.
Yeah, we were able to open our beach and our pool and inflatables right off the bat. So our beach and pool sales, as far as our tiki huts, have increased tremendously this year. So, for us,
it was a record year.
It was a record year. People didn't have any place to go other than here locally. So it's been kind of an incredible year. But we struggled with staff too, so training was difficult with that.
Staff burnout, middle of July, it was almost like we were hitting our September burnout, just because we were go all week. There was no break at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, I've heard from a number of campground owners who have said that, once things did get going, it's just been really intense ever since then, and they're still going. And I know there's been some campgrounds that are really looking to have a really strong fall. So I don't think for some of these parks, things are going to be slowing down here, soon. I know usually the last couple of years when we talk to campground owners, the Halloween season has normally been a really busy time. I don't know, Desiree, you're with a Jellystone in Pennsylvania. Um, what are you expecting this fall? Do you guys do a lot of Halloween stuff?
We have a famous Halloween series. It's 4 weekends, and we had just, before all this happened, expanded it to 4.5, going to 5 next year. We're packed. We're full every single one of those. Our staff, again, like Emily said, they were all new this year, so they have never seen our Halloween. But we upped our activities game this year, luckily, before this all happened also. So we had the staff to make things happen from day one, with all the restrictions, with the planning, the regulations, the rules, the laws, the guidelines, the suggestions, the recommendations. We were able to navigate that and find a way to keep things moving as people came out, and I expect that to continue into Halloween. They've really done a fabulous job, maybe because they know no different.
Yeah. Beth has joined us. Beth, can you unmute yourself or? Oh, she's trying, I think. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, am I on?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
can you just introduce yourself and tell us which park you're with?
I am Beth Mashinsky. My husband and I own Frog Hollow Campground in Grenada, Mississippi, 90 miles south of Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay. All right. And I guess, can you just give us a little perspective on how your season's been going so far?
Well, it's kind of funny. I did some ciphering last night and compared January through August of 2020 compared to 2019, our occupancies has increased by 36%.
Yeah, wow.
And it's a huge amount. I was shocked when I saw that. And it's not just because we have work crews, more work crews. We have had, let's see, in July of last year, we had only 28 overnighters because July is slow for us. In July of this year, we had 116. And I mean, that's a huge difference. Now, we are not in a destination park, which means that all of these people that come to us for one night are on their way someplace else to some other destination park. So other parks have to have increased business also based on what I have.
Yeah, it's happening to everyone. I can't
hopefully
figure out when anybody in the campground industry wants COVID to go away. This is fantastic for everybody. We're all going to be down next year if they come up with a vaccine. That's what you should be afraid of.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing we've done with COVID, it really basically hasn't changed for us at all. And sometimes I feel guilty saying that, that our lifestyle hasn't changed. The only thing we've done is we've closed our bathrooms and we don't allow tenters or pop-ups. And our bathrooms remain closed, and to be perfectly honest, they're going to remain closed as long as I can possibly do that. But we never had to close The only thing is our propane sales this year are almost non-existent. And usually we do a big business all year long with propane, but this year it's been bad. I don't know why.
I feel like you would trade that, right, Beth, for the season that you're having? Like keep the propane?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, propane is just, I mean, we make a huge profit on propane. Every campground does.
Sure.
But
It's a lot of work.
I'm not a propane dealer. I'm a campground owner.
Yeah.
I mean, not only is business up, you don't have to send the staff out to do the propane all the time, and you don't have to clean bathrooms. I mean, this is a win-win all around.
Exactly. I
Agreed.
have nothing to complain about.
A lot of parks having such reduced staff, those kind of extra amenity services being closed has been a huge help. Well, frankly, a necessity as long as the staffing issue is the way it is.
Yeah, yeah. Maya Alonso from
You
Maya.
don't even know how, you invited her on and you still don't know how to pronounce her name?
Technically, Kara invited her on for one.
Yeah, it's Maya.
For two, oh, it's Maya. Oh, sorry, it's Maya.
Yeah.
Is Alonso right?
That's right. Yeah. Oh, nice.
Okay. And which park are you from, and where are you located?
We're located in British Columbia, Canada.
Okay.
We are in the Okanagan, on the boundary between the Okanagan and Boundary Country. So we're just 20 kilometers east of Osoyoos, BC.
And now we hear, we've been talking for a couple months now about how short and compressed some of the Canadian park seasons are because of the winters and the colder weather. I guess when's your prime season run from?
Yeah, so we're funny. We're near Osoyoos, which is actually a desert climate, but we're up at higher elevation, so we're at least 7 to 9 degrees cooler. So we close down mid-October, and our prime, I would say, prime season here is pretty much August, July and August is pretty much. We open the May long weekend, end of May, and close mid-October.
How many sites do you have, Maya?
We're small. We have 9 RV full hookups and then tent sites.
Awesome.
We have 2 proper tent sites right now, and then we're just looking at developing out some more for next year.
Okay. So how long have you owned your park? Is it fairly new, or has it been there a while?
Yeah, so the park itself, we just moved in May 1st of this year, but it has existed. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's existed for 20 years, 18, well, maybe 15 years. I mean, the property, the owners that built it, previous owners that built it, built out the campground itself around 15 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. All right. Yeah. I mean, it's just been an incredible year, and I can't imagine being new to the, sector and trying to sort through everything that's been going on. I know Desiree, I think, mentioned that this is her first year managing the Jellystone in Pennsylvania, where she's located. And I just can't imagine sorting through everything, as a new campground owner, and then having the COVID crisis on top of it. That would be incredible. So,
yeah.
So I mean, even for I think even for veteran campground owners, this year has been just throwing a lot of interesting curveballs in that they've never had to deal with before on their end. So being new just is another whole ordeal. I guess what has been, I guess I'm just going to ask this to the group. I guess what has been the most helpful, I guess, to you guys getting through this COVID crisis? I guess what have you guys really relied on to get you through the crisis and to keep your campers safe and keep them coming back, I guess?
I can start that. I would say guidance from Jellystone in general definitely has been very supportive. We've also kept in very close touch with our local legislators so that we have information right from a reliable source instead of getting it from, articles or news, or we have it right from the source there. That's been the most helpful. And just the can-do attitude of our staff has been such a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I've been hearing, I know that we've talked before on the show just about relationships and how those relationships with your community leaders are important, or state leaders. I guess, have any of you benefited from those types of relationships as far as having those relationships set up and you were able to talk with your community leaders and let them know what your park offers and things like that?
Ventura,
Hannah with Evergreen. So Jim, the owner of Evergreen, actually was on our local task force for COVID. So he worked directly with the state and then our local health department in regards to really looking at what regulations, what was doable, what was not doable and feasible for not only our business at the campground, but all the local businesses in the area. So he worked directly with that, and then just being involved with our state association, Waco, was just so beneficial for our park to just continue to do what we needed to do to operate and keep our guests safe.
So Ventura Ranch is on county property, so we had various meetings with the higher level of the county. In fact, quite a few inspections to make sure we're doing things right. I say the biggest hurdle we had was because of the unemployment benefits people were getting, is trying to get staff back as well as getting enough staff. We actually hired out housekeeping. We didn't have enough staff to take on all the new protocols with cleaning cabins and so forth. And we actually had to hire outside firms to come in and support that part of our business. And that rate was almost double what we pay individually to clean a cabin. It almost doubled, but we had to do it. It's just something that had to be done.
Yeah. I know the employee aspect. I think some of you guys have already mentioned the employee aspect of running a campground. I guess, have you guys been able to find the employees you need, or what's it been like just dealing with employees amid the crisis?
That's one reason we have the bathrooms closed, is because my husband and we're owner operators. We don't have employees. I do have somebody that comes in and cleans once a week. With work crews and such, I can't be in the bathrooms to clean the way they should. And so we just closed them down. And I put signs up on the door saying that they were closed due to COVID. We cannot keep them up to the CDC standards, and therefore, for the safety of our campers, they are not available.
Yeah. I mean, I think at some point, like during something like this, if you don't have the staff to do something, or you can't do something effectively, then maybe it is worth shutting it down or limiting access so that you can provide the best service you can. I guess.
We gotta get some tough journalism questions going here, Ben.
I know.
So for Scott here, for example, right? So we know that, I've heard this from many park owners, right? That the unemployment benefits that I think, yes, were too high too, have impacted the ability to hire. So now that they've gone away for almost a month, have you been able to turn that around? Can you pinpoint that it was actually that problem 100%? Or?
Well, it's a good point, Brian. We actually found 2 new housekeepers in mid-August.
Okay.
And I think that is because we've gotten tighter in restrictions of who we're paying and how much we're paying. So I think that's helping. It's a really good point.
Okay.
Definitely feedback I've got from members up here in general, that, lots of their staff was happy to stay home and receive the employment benefits instead of coming back to work, and that's put them in a really interesting position. Our benefits are still being issued at this point, but I know they're talking about extensions and things like that. So I think obviously with the season changing, it's less of an issue potentially for the next 6 months or so. But then I'll be interested to see what happens next spring up here when everybody's rehiring.
I'm going to put a twist on this one and tell you that we did not have staffing issues because of the unemployment increases. Most of our staff is work campers, and we only have locals for housekeeping, which again is new this year and has been a blessing in that if you lose a housekeeper, you don't lose two like you do with work campers. But where we've seen the effect from the unemployment checks is in our customers' spending, big time. We have fewer people in the park than we did last year and the year before, but they're spending twice as much.
Wow.
And that's an interesting use case, like Desiree, and that's what, I mean, I think there's two sides to every story here, right? Like, I mean, what unemployment arguably in a lot of people's minds, including my own, was too high in the States, right? It needed to be something. It needed to be something because people were out of work, and in my opinion, they still are. I mean, still need to do something for them. Does it need to be that high? No. But during the pandemic, when everything was shut down, I think this is disproportionately benefiting a lot of your guys' revenue because people had a personal income went up since March. And I think a lot of this is being spent on RVs and trips and travel and goods in the store and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that, yes, it's hurt in one way with staff, but it's also helped in other ways too. And so what is that balance? I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I've spoken with a number of, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Now, I've spoken with a number of people, campground owners who have mentioned that they're on the work camper side, it's been really competitive this year. Have any of you guys that use work campers noticed that, where it's being a little bit competitive as far as being able to get these work campers to come?
Well, we were lucky at Ventura Ranch. Some of the campgrounds closed down before we did. And so we were able to obtain those work campers. And because of the PPP funds, we were able to keep people working during the 3 months of closure. And that benefited us quite a bit.
Sure.
Emily, how did it work with your staff since you were closed down for so many weeks and you had to come back? You were talking about briefly before, but.
Yes, I ran about 15 to 20 people short all season long. Again, when we came back, it was all new staff, and the only people that wanted a job were the people who had never had a job before, because, they wouldn't receive unemployment benefits. And so these are a lot of high school students, people who, don't know how to take out the trash. And then again, like I said, a new reservation software. Thankfully, it was more, technologically savvy. So, the younger generation picks that up way easier.
Right.
But I mean, running short all season long was awful. The unemployment benefits not ran out, but stopped there for a little while in Kentucky. But now they're back up again to $400, I think, extra a week. So I don't know. Right now I don't need staff because, Labor Day is next weekend or this weekend. So I can't really tell if that has helped at all. I just hope we make it through the Halloween weekends, honestly.
Yeah. And Hannah, I know you guys have a pretty big staff in Wisconsin there. What's the season been like as far as getting the staff members at your park?
We're fortunate actually to get a lot of people that we've had work for us in the past that either were off college doing careers that ended up getting told they couldn't work because of COVID. So we were fortunate to get a lot of lead staff back. Tailing up now, we're super short staffed because they're all headed back to school. We had the same amount of staff we have every year, but with our increase in everything across the board, I felt like we were short-staffed. We could have hired more, but sometimes we just didn't have enough time to probably train them correctly. It was a light switch. All of a sudden, they're like, you're not going to be open, you're not going to be open, and then light switch was on, we were open with a full occupancy park. So it was just an interesting year.
We had a couple key staff that came back that were supposed to have internships, somewhere else. So like Hannah said, we were lucky to get them back. There's 3 or 4 of them. One girl we hired, she was actually supposed to be an intern at Disney, so she turned out to be kind of a rock star for us. Our international students obviously got canceled, but we were able to supplement with some local kids that really wanted to put in a lot of hours. So, again, like Hannah said, we felt like we were short-staffed just because we were so busy, but
we were on point for the total number of staff like we would hire on a year-to-year basis.
Okay.
So Hannah, I'm curious, just because a lot of things have been changing throughout 2020. People, with all the shutdowns, there was a lot of inconsistencies. Laws were changing, but a lot of people still had that 2 weeks or 4 weeks notice, right? Before we're going to go to stage 1, we're going to go to stage 2. Whereas Wisconsin was literally, boom, the Supreme Court said everything could open up, right? So how did that impact you guys, like just overnight versus even not having that week or 2 lead time?
I mean, we had happy tears. When they came across with that, we had no idea what our summer was going to look like, and between the calls of cancellations and, all of that, and then to have like that overnight change, was it stressful? Absolutely, but it was like a weight was lifted off your shoulders, and you could see the light like at the end of the tunnel. I can't even like describe the feeling. It was like there were tears across all of our lead staff. And Jim, I think he jumped 6 feet in the air when that happened. It was stressful. All of a sudden we had to do a quick schedule to start plugging people in and facilitating staff to get in. And luckily we were kind of working the entire time, so none of our core staff stopped working during COVID. So we had all of our plans to be open, and we were always working to that. So we were ahead of the game in that aspect, that we just didn't sit and twiddle our thumbs in a sense. So
we made sure that the pools were gonna. We thought the pools were gonna open and then not, but we just made sure that we were on point for that, as well as the inflatables in our beach.
And even just ordering product, there was a point where we just made sure we contacted all of our vendors to make sure we had the beer, we had all of our paper products to do food, whether it was, curbside takeout. We were ahead of that. So then when the switch did go off and they're like, oh, you can open, and then all of our vendors were out of product, we luckily had enough stuff to get us through those shortage struggle weeks. And so we were very fortunate on that aspect. So
I would love to see Jim jump 6 feet in the air.
It's quite impressive, Ben. I think I might have some videos.
I actually do have
videos. So he's got some hops. He might not look it, but So.
Well, that's cool.
So I'm curious, Maya, how is it like in Canada? Because I know a lot more about what happened in the States as far as the regulations go than I do admittedly in Canada, a little bit. But how did that impact you guys at the beginning of your season?
Well, we went into phase in BC. It's been a little bit different, I think, across the provinces. But in BC, we were allowed to reopen or open our sector. I guess it was June, which was incredible timing. We purchased and moved in here May 1st, and purchased early, in February, and then March, COVID hit, and we're like, oh my God, what have we done? This is going to be kind of a write-off this year. We didn't expect to be able to open. So we entered phase 3, which allowed for travel within the province. Yeah, I believe I guess it was June. So that meant that people, and they also, interestingly, here in BC, for the provincial parks, the government regulated that it was only open to BC residents. So only BC residents could book campground bookings, which, I mean, nobody could really travel. Really, there weren't a lot of planes coming in anyway, so that didn't impact it a lot. But it was a nice trend for campgrounds here, it was really just BC people traveling within BC to campgrounds. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not sure if I answered your question, but
yeah, I mean, I just wanted to get a picture of kind of what it was like for you guys up there. So yeah, we have had. I mean, we've had people from Alberta travel across, but technically the actual and private campgrounds are separate. We're not required to only be open to BC residents. But yeah, it's been an interesting trend. I wish I could compare notes from last year, but we weren't here, of course. But what I do know that the previous owners used to have a lot of international guests, like people from Germany and a lot of European travelers coming over to BC and renting RVs. So that was a significant change. And then as well to the RV companies. While the rentals were down to overseas guests, it's been like huge they've been selling RVs like crazy here to British Columbians. So we've had a ton of people. It's been quite funny because we're brand new at this, and people early days in June were showing up like really kind of sheepish, like, we just bought this RV, we're really new to this. I'm like, perfect, we just bought this RV park, we're really new to this. So it's been kind of entertaining, and we've been learning together, and yeah, lots of families kind of going the RV route for the first time, which is neat. Traveling around BC.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know about like enforcement of, regulations nobody had to deal with before, social distancing, and did you find that you had issues with enforcement? I know when I owned a park, enforcement of rules was one of the biggest hurdles in my life, and I didn't have to do it during COVID times. I really struggled to wrap my brain around how logistically difficult it was to ensure people were following those regulations and sanitizing their hands. And I mean, in some places here in Canada, masks are mandatory. How do you make sure? Like, did you find people were generally willing and happy and fine to follow the rules?
Yeah, I think people were so grateful to be able to leave. A lot of people were coming from like Vancouver, the bigger city in BC here. So I think my basic observation was that people were just so grateful to get into nature. So they were, the one thing I was really surprised about, and I thank you guys for that, the waiver that you developed, because like you guys were noting, it has been a huge, lots to undertake in the first year, right? We're brand new to this, plus COVID. So I was, early days, I was quite anxious to make sure I was like doing everything kind of right. So the waiver was really a high priority for me. And I really thank you guys for creating that waiver. It was a wonderful template to work from. And what I was surprised about was I had got a few comments from people who were surprised. They'd never had to fill something like this out at the other campgrounds they were visiting, which really surprised me. Because we're here in BC, like our provincial health officer is really cracking down and asking people to, or they're trying to really focus on contact tracing for COVID. So in order to do that, they need businesses to be registering their visitors, right? And I think even more important for a campground type setting, I just was shocked that a lot of people were surprised that they had to fill something like this out.
Here in Canada, the waiver usage in a lot of parks isn't that common, especially out west here.
Yeah.
I feel like in the States, the majority of you guys probably have guests sign a waiver when they check in, correct? I feel like it's more prevalent there so far.
Good
I
question,
guess so.
Owen, to everybody too about the rules too. I'm curious about for all the people here, Scott and Emily.
I don't have anybody sign anything.
Okay.
No,
See?
we don't
I mean,
have.
they're just overnighters or they're work crews. We don't have seasonals or permanent residents at all.
Right.
Right.
So, and as far as social distancing with the work crews, you know, they all get together and do their barbecues and all that kind of stuff at night. And I figure, well, if they're working together all day, it's no different than, you know, being together in a home or whatever. So I had a couple of comments from other people, you know, other campers about, well, you know, this group of people, and that was my response. They work together all day, and therefore they are all exposed to each other anyways. They are not out in the campground socializing with any of the other guests, so they're not, you know, spreading anything if perchance they have it. And to the best of my knowledge, we have not had one case of anybody that has been in our campground coming down with COVID, workers or overnighters. So I think people, you know, once they're outside and they're out, even if they are socializing with other campers, they're staying away from them, even if they don't have a mask on. You know, they're not getting up and sitting at the picnic tables together with everybody. They're standing plenty far apart. And people are real conscious of all of that. And it's a little bit different than normal camping, but it seems to be working fine. And it's better than hoteling it, let me tell you.
Yeah. We've found that, you know, when sometimes you look and you see people starting to gather or starting to crowd, and now your instinct is to, oh my goodness. And then when you take a second look at it, you say, you know, like you do, Beth, wait, that's a family. Those are their best friends. These people all live here, the workers. So, you know, what you might take as out of the question as an uninformed observer, once you really look at who the people are, people do naturally gravitate to the people that they're closest with.
Exactly. And we as owners know that. People that are just coming in for a night or whatever, they don't understand that. And that's where the comments have come from, is people that they don't understand the situation. They see, yeah, oh, all these people, you know, look at those 10 guys up there, and they're all barbecuing together and drinking beer. And it's like, once I explain, oh yeah, they work together all day long. Oh, okay. And it's like, I'm not going to make them social distance when they don't have to at work.
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges that we've seen here is trying to navigate that tightrope between the two ends of this spectrum, and respecting everyone's feelings and everyone's opinions, and trying to stay in the middle. And, you know, if somebody, we always have our masks with us. If I'm outdoors and someone is approaching me and they're wearing one, mine goes up. If someone is approaching me and they're not, then I'm okay, because I have to answer to both sides. But like you said, some people just are so scared. They're so scared, and you have to kind of respect that, but you can't let them also, I'm not here to ruin anybody's good time, and I'm not going to let one person interfere with another camper either. If they're not bothering you, if they're not near you, I'm not going to get involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles, what we've done at our campground is every staff member has to wear the mask, mainly because we have people in LA that go around videotaping people that are not doing the right rules. And we're more worried about media attention in that direction. So not a choice on our end. As much as I think I agree with what Beth's saying, it's the right thing to do. It's safe, you're all together, but we had to do it just because we're so close to LA, and that is our biggest marketplace.
Sure, and that's what you have to respect. Who is your customer?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess, Scott, on your end, has there been any, I know you were in a really restrictive environment at first, as far as even getting your campground open. I guess, what are the restrictions like at your park as far as, you mentioned the mask, but, are you making sure that your campers are social distancing and follow all the guidelines?
We're on 75 acres, so the social distancing is pretty easy. For our security team, the tough part is when visitors want to come in the campground and we don't have our front gate manned at that time. And that's been our biggest hurdle. In the early part of COVID, everybody was social distancing on their own. Everybody was nervous. Now everybody's feeling a lot more comfortable and they're putting their guards down a little more. We're not trying to be the group out there trying to tell everybody no, but we're making sure we do set the example. And actually, I have a question for everybody. Our biggest hurdle for us this year with COVID is when we had to close down for 3 months, we gave back about $180,000 in security deposits and no income coming in. So our biggest hurdle was how to deal with that huge negative cash flow. Is that something everybody else had to worry about, or was not an issue?
Not an issue for us. And I was going to apply for the PPP, but we were told that we were ineligible because we file as self-employed. So nobody would even touch an application. It turns out we didn't need it, but at the time, I didn't know if we would have business, if we would be shut down, and all of our, if all of the workers that were at our park in March, if their jobs shut down and they pulled their trailers out, we'd have an empty park and still have bills coming in. So I investigated all of that. The Small Business Association and the bank basically flat out refused to process anything for us. Even though it said that it was for self-employed people, they just flat out refused, said they wouldn't even take our application. But you know what, it just turns out that I didn't need them anyways, so that was fine by me.
Well, our corporation
I know that there were other people. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I thought you were done, Beth. Our corporation owns several parks, and so the challenge for them is different with each one. Right here, any of our cancellations created a vacuum, which was quickly filled with new campers. Whereas maybe Jellystone's Warrens up in Wisconsin, they had, all the Wisconsin challenges and different dates. Lake Ridge down in Virginia's been very strict. And then we have Yogi and the Smokies, the Cherokee, which is on part of an Indian reservation. So they had, on top of their own state problems, they had regulations from the the tribal council as well. So they may have had a little different challenges than we did. So the corporation as a whole, did need help, but those locations have spaces available. They're up and running, and they're finding their footing now and getting back to normal and doing great.
Emily, I know you had to close your park, so I imagine did you give refunds to people that had reservations or deposits? What was that like?
1,000 paper checks, Ben.
What?
She wrote 1,000
She
paper
already
checks.
told you, Ben.
Yeah, she wrote thousands.
Oh no, see them. Oh my gosh. That's your refund stack?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we closed for 7 weeks, and 3 of those weeks are spring break weeks for us. And that's kind of like how our staff is like initiated. They're like, oh, okay, this is how it's going to be in peak season. We didn't have that. We gave everybody refunds. I mean, all my time was spent doing those refund checks and just trying to get policies and procedures down with the management team. And I just feel like it was a blur. Yeah. Anyways, we were down. We weren't full for Memorial Day, which is not normal. We were down July, down in August, actually. Labor Day isn't full. It's just, people aren't willing to camp, I don't think, in Kentucky yet. All the stuff going on with schools, people are hesitant as to, what their vacation schedule is going to be like. I think I've got cancellations coming in for Halloween now. It's just it's scary. I need reservations.
So this is an interesting point that you bring up, Emily, and I'm curious as to whether you have an opinion on this, right? So we've heard from a lot of owners who are doing really, really great. Some a lot over last year. And then you've just mentioned like you were struggling to get some reservations in July, August, when a lot of the other people in other states were exceeding their targets in some cases. And so do you think that's a result of your state leadership and how they've treated the different rules versus other states differently? Or do you think it's a national thing? Or
I think it's more of a Kentucky thing. I really won't comment on like the governor or his policies or anything, but I just feel like the whole state of Kentucky is kind of just hesitant. There's no answers. Nobody has any answers. I do feel though that the people who do come here are more laid back in the fact that, when they're out and about, they're not wearing masks, but Kentucky does have a mask mandate now. We require them inside our buildings. Our employees are required to wear them. But when they're out here, they're having fun and not worrying about it. They come here to get away from wearing the mask, I feel like. But I feel like people just don't know. There's no answer.
Is that really unique to Kentucky though? Like, I mean, I feel like that's the same.
Maybe not.
So it's interesting. I'm just trying to figure out what the root of the issue is, right? And I don't know that we're going to get to an answer.
Yeah.
It interests me that people don't really know in California, for example, but Scott is having a great year, arguably. So.
Well, I mean, California, there's lots of COVID cases in California, and there's not many in Kentucky. So I just feel people are still staying at home in Kentucky. You know what I mean? Because,
No, I mean, there's no good answer. I don't think that there is. I'm just curious. It's just an interesting topic to me. That's all.
Yeah. I guess, Hannah, on your end, I know you guys have a couple pools, and, we've talked with a bunch of campground owners about pools too. I guess, how was that managing your pools this year? How do you do that and keep people social distance? I guess, what are the rules like in Wisconsin for you?
This is Brandy. I manage the pools, and the things that we have in place are just guidelines. We don't necessarily have any regulations. So we took away some seating at our pools, trying to get a little bit better handle on social distancing. Obviously, we put up signs and things like that. but it was really, just up to the camper to be socially responsible and make sure that they are doing their part. The same thing at the beach, we put, the chairs social distanced apart and, tried to regulate that during the day. But, people are going to move things around and you do the best you can. And, again, they were just guidelines. It wasn't necessarily regulations put in place.
I know you guys have that new bar, that adult bar pool. Were you guys able to open that this year? And how did you manage the flow to that pool, I guess?
We did open that, and, we saw a little bit of a downturn in people being in there versus kind of spread out.
Oh, I think she.
Oh, did we lose her?
In California, we're at 50% capacity in our pool area. And we actually sanitize all the chairs 3 times a day. We have 4 different sanitization, stations where the guests can grab the supplies and wipe down their chairs themselves for extra protection. But I have to say, even though we're close 50% capacity, I'm not seeing a lot of guests compared to the previous years. They're just not feeling comfortable going to the pool, right, in California anyhow.
Which is saying something, because isn't it gets pretty hot where you are during the summer.
It does.
Right?
It'll be 85 to 90 degrees most of August, so.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Sometimes like over 100, as you just were like a week and a half ago, right? 2 weeks ago?
Yes, you're right. We didn't get that high yet, but it certainly can.
Okay, all right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much to think about I was wondering if anybody walked around with like a yardstick and measured people, 6 feet apart, everyone.
Carry a pool noodle.
Carried a pool noodle, okay.
Yeah.
I guess, has there been anything that's come out of this that you guys are looking at and are like, well, I kind of like it this way, maybe I'll just keep it?
Yeah, keeping the bathrooms closed.
Keeping the bathrooms. Well, I didn't know, sometimes when stuff like this happens, you put procedures in place that you wouldn't have thought about before, but now that you've got them in place, you're like, well, maybe I'll just keep this way, or maybe I'll just keep doing things this way, even after the crisis passes. But maybe nothing like that. I know the face shields, I guess, have you guys put the shields up at your front counter? Are you guys planning on keeping those there, or are you going to take those down eventually?
Ours keep getting knocked over. We can't wait to take them down.
Okay. I know I've been in like some businesses that have actually like fastened to the walls and everything, and you ask them and you're like, we're looking at keeping these on permanently. But I guess it just depends on how you did them at your park. So
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess, looking to next year, how do you take this year into consideration and then prepare for next year, I guess?
How can you? We don't know what next year is going to bring.
Yeah.
Do any of you take reservations that far in advance? Are you seeing bookings for next year?
We are seeing bookings for next year, except on the group business. That's the only part that's looking a little weak right now for us.
Do you think the groups are going to wait a little bit longer to make those reservations?
Well, it's interesting. We're actually seeing scout groups, because we canceled groups all the way through the end of the year. And we're seeing some of them wanting to come back, which surprises me because they were the first ones to cancel. But I think they're feeling a lot more comfortable with how they can work together and social distance and feel comfortable with it. We decided already that we will not allow any group camping through the first quarter of next year.
Okay. Now, is your county rules and stuff allow you to do group camping now, or are they still restricting?
So the county is just saying 50% occupancy level, that's it, and
Okay.
not who can come in. But we decided it was easier to cancel the, I'll call tent camping portion of the business, because that was the most difficult to keep clean and sanitized.
Yeah, yeah. I guess
I
Emily,
agree.
you had mentioned that, you know, things are still slow and people are nervous about camping in Kentucky a little bit or going out of their, you know, safe areas. I guess what are you anticipating them throughout the winter, you know, that business is going to pick up a little bit, that they'll get more comfortable?
Possibly. I think with all the stuff going on with schools, I mean, half of Kentucky is going in person and half of them are going virtual. Moms are probably already exhausted as it is when it comes to Friday, and they're like, I don't want to pack up the camper and go. Like, that's too much work. In my mindset, that's how it would work. But I, I don't know. We have 6 Halloween weekends, and they better happen, or you know, it's going to be a really horrible year for us. You know, we've had to redo how we do Halloween, and to do it 6 weekends in a row, you know, it should go well. I mean, we'll see when people start rebooking for 2021 for Halloween. Yeah, but the winter, we don't do much business in the winter, so I can't really tell, you know, if we're going to have a good winter or not, because, you know, most of those are transient guests or, you know, 1 or 2 nighters here and there. So we'll see.
Emily, do you think if everything went virtual that it would help your business in Kentucky versus the mixed messaging?
Possibly. You know, we've been advertising strongly that, you know, we have free Wi-Fi in the park, and, you know, you can come homeschool here, and, you know, do outdoor activities, you know, that engage people's, you know, PE or math or, you know, that kind of thing. But we really haven't seen that boost from that marketing. It's also new. I mean, Kentucky schools, some have already gone back for this, maybe their 3rd week. And then some are starting this week, some started last week. So it's all so new. And I mean, I feel for the parents who work full time and have to stay home and virtually school their children. I just can't imagine doing that at this point in time. Yeah, so it's just
so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Beth, I guess, do you see snowbirds at your park? And if so, are you expecting to see them this year?
You know, that's a huge question, because we probably have a 50% repeat business of snowbirds. We get the same people that come every fall and every spring. A lot of them from Canada, which I understand that's not going to happen this year. I really don't know. I don't have reservations like I usually do, although I do have reservations up until New Year's Eve. And it can go either way. It can go, people will just kind of trickle through and there won't be very many, or everybody's going to be sick and tired and they don't want to be stuck in their house up north, and they're all going to make this mass exit and head south. I've had inquiries about snowbirds wanting to stay at our park this year, which usually they don't, because we still get cold and occasional snow. But we've had several that are coming from, you know, the northern states, Minneapolis, you know, Minnesota and North Dakota and Michigan. So, you know, that is a real up in the air question, and it's going to go one way or the other, but there's no way I can predict which way it's going to go. I wish I could. It would be a big help, but it will be an interesting end of the year, I think.
I can speak to that here in BC. In Canada, we've had apparently the previous owners are telling me they rarely ever got calls, but I've had basically daily emails for Canadians that normally snowbird, they normally head south for the summer, desperate to find somewhere to put their RV for this winter because of the border closure. And I would love to be able to take them here, but we have to shut down the water at our campground basically mid-October because it gets too cold up here. But I know that people are really desperate to find somewhere locally up here because they're so uncertain about the border. At the moment, the borders are set to reopen September 21st, but they keep pushing that down or pushing that that time frame. So who knows? But if they do open, I think you'll see a lot of people heading down south for sure.
That's what I'm thinking. Is that all of a sudden people are going to say they don't want to stay where they are, they don't want to deal with that, and they're all going to head south. And it might happen a little bit later. Normally starting right after Labor Day, we start getting busy with the snowbirds. I'm thinking that this year it might be more like October, November, later this year.
Yeah.
And people will kind of get a feel for what the health situation is further south before they make that ultimate decision to go. But I'm thinking that there's going to be a lot of them that are going to be heading out. Maybe snowbirds that have never done it before. You know, there's a lot of newbies, and you know, I'm thinking that there's going to be a lot, and I'm hoping I'm right for everybody's sake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's just a lot of question marks with the COVID. You wish you had like a crystal ball and you could shake it and just see what's going to happen down the road. But I guess as park owners, you just kind of have to
day by day.
Yeah, day by day, do the best you can.
Ben, listen, you're supposed to be an investigative journalist for Woodall's. You're supposed to be crunching these numbers, running Excel report, giving us predictive analytics, and doing these things. I mean, come on, pick up the slack here.
You don't want to be crunching numbers.
Isn't running a campground an every day is different kind of scenario anyways? I mean, for 18 years, we can never predict what's going to happen on a daily basis. It's not like going to a normal job where you know what's going to happen, you know what you're going to do. Every day is an adventure when you're a campground owner. And this is just a different type of an adventure this year. That's the way we look at it.
I've heard it's become a lot more of an adventure with all the new campers that are coming in. Like some of them just, have no.
You bet.
What's going on? So it's just been really interesting seeing some of the stories of some of the new campers coming in, and as a campground owner, it's easy to get frustrated, but you have to be a little, compassionate on that end too, I guess, and help them out. Is that what you guys have been doing at your parks? I guess just kind of helping these new owners, the new RV owners.
Quite a bit.
Absolutely.
We help them always.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're new or old. If we can be of assistance in some way, and we've had over the years a lot of maiden voyages, and the thing with being in a campground, if we can't help them, there's another camper there that will. If somebody's out there fiddling with their satellite and they can't get it in, next thing you know, there's going to be 5 people there helping them without anybody even asking. So I don't think hopefully that's not going to change, because that's one of the treasures of camping is the camaraderie and the clientele that are around you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Scott, I guess, have you been seeing a lot of new campers up in Ventura?
Definitely from the new purchase type of camper, and they need some assistance for sure. And our staff has been good, and as Beth said, the neighbors have all been very good about that. And we haven't lost too many electric pedestals or signage that from them clipping it on the way in or way out yet.
Too many. What's too many?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emily, have you noticed a lot of new campers at your Jellystone?
Yeah, and new clientele this year too. But again, I mean, like everybody else has said, our maintenance team is happy to help. And then neighbors, of course. I mean, you see somebody struggling, the dad next door is like, oh, let me go see what he needs help with. Yeah, it's easy. I mean, the reviews. The reviews
Don't
are
even go
terrible.
there. Don't even go there.
Oh my God, I've never had so many 1-star reviews. If it wasn't for Brian, oh my God, I can't answer them anymore. I'm just, no. Anyways.
It's all 1s and 5s. There's nothing in between.
Yeah.
Two ends of
I got a 3
Yes,
earlier.
exactly.
I was like, I've not a 3 in a long time.
And I think a lot of those 1-stars from new owners are because they are new owners and they have no camping experience, and so they don't know what to expect. And they're expecting us to be like a hotel and do everything, you know. But that's not what camping is about.
No, there are bugs outside in nature.
No. What? And mice too? No. And snakes? Oh my goodness. Sorry.
All right, Ben, you got any more questions? I flipped
Well,
on you. I just asked you before you could ask me this week.
I know we've been seeing a lot of, frustrated owners because people just don't read. I think I saw one owner over the weekend. She was a little frustrated because somebody left a 1-star review because they didn't have their water slides open. If you go to the front page of the website, they specifically state they don't have their water slides open. But, people don't take the time to read. Have you run into a lot of those issues where people just aren't reading your statements or what's open and what's closed?
Sure.
That's not new.
Yeah, that's normal. That's every day.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, those fancy brochures, we find them in the garbage every day. Even though I tell people to keep them because they have emergency phone number contacts. No.
Well, you would think during like a COVID crisis that people would actually maybe read some of that stuff more because they would expect you to have things closed, but I guess that's not the case. So.
They openly admit when if you have a chargeback or you have a 1-star review and you're talking to them, they will tell you, of course I didn't read that, or you didn't tell me I had to read that. It's not in their psyche.
What do you do to fix that? What do you do to make sure that the people are reading?
We tell each person, there's a copy of this also in your packet. We suggest that you read what you just signed. We signed you up to be a bear at 4 o'clock, and you have to take everybody's trash out, and we tell them a bunch of phony things that aren't in there to make them have to look at what is in there.
I write our internet password in our brochure, and I write it all in capital letters, and I tell people, you have to enter the password. It's all lowercase, even though I wrote it in uppercase, all lowercase. Can I tell you how many times I get phone calls a half an hour later? Well, I put in the password and it tells me that I can't connect. Did you put it all in lowercase? Well, no, you wrote it all in uppercase. And I told you in the office, all in lowercase. Oh, I didn't hear you say that. they don't pay attention.
There's an easy fix.
I think too, we do give them so much information when they arrive, and I try to put myself in their shoes. I'm walking into a new place. There's a lot going on, not just in front of me, but in my mind about what I have to do next. And now you're giving me so much information. In all I want to do is probably hit the restroom and get to my site.
Well, and often they've just driven for several hours. They're
Exactly.
yeah.
Probably had several arguments on the way.
So the answer is this, and here's my scenario for you, Ben. Ready for this? Okay.
Can't wait.
So if you have an army of carrots trained that you can give to people that automatically repeat the rules every time they go into their cabin or RV, including the Wi-Fi password, then they'll just get it eventually.
You should patent that, Brian.
Yeah, eventually. No, they probably won't, Brian.
But at least you can say that they heard it, right? Like there's no doubt about that.
That is
They don't
true.
even have to
Lots of dead parrots.
Do any of you, like, if you did have closures this year, amenity closures, did any of you add like little extra boxes that popped up that specifically stated that before they paid? If they reserved online? No?
Ben, you're just striking out with the questions here. Everybody just stop asking questions. It's late anyway. It's 12:17. Are we going to keep these people all day?
Yeah. We probably do need to wrap this thing up. So, Brian, did you have any other questions?
No, I have not. I don't come prepared to these things. You should know that already.
And Kara, did you have any other questions? No?
No,
Did anybody?
You didn't even give her a chance to answer. You're like, do you have any other questions? No. Okay. Anybody else?
No, I'm good, Ben. Thanks.
Oh, well, I think we're going to wrap this thing up. I would just like to thank everyone for coming on. I think we had some really good conversations, and I know I always get a lot of information from owners whenever I talk to owners. So it's been great hearing from you guys, and just thanks for being willing to come on. I know you guys are all super busy. So, and you're coming down from the weekend, which is typically the busiest time of the week. So thanks for being willing to come on. And I think next week for Fireside Chats, we're going to take a week off for Labor Day. Well, we'll be back on the, what is that, the 14th? Yeah, it's the 7th, 14th. Yeah, I can do math.
Back from your vacation, Ben. No campground owners are off for Labor Day. I'm not off for Labor Day. I don't know if Kara is or not, but you're the only one who's taking off for Labor Day. So.
Yeah, I'll keep everyone in my thoughts over Labor Day weekend.
He's going to have so much guilt about it. Yeah.
They're going to be busy. But it's been great talking with everyone. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and thanks again for coming on, everyone who joined us. So,
Thank you guys.
That's the week. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.